Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
We've talked about it. Could he actually do it? Democrats, some of them inside, are urging Biden. Hey, strategic oil supplies, petroleum supply. We need to maybe think about doing something. We maybe have to figure out how we can figure out this nightmare that's going on as we head into the holiday seasons and people are looking at gas that's out of control. My gas prices here are continuing to rise. I'm paying well over $1 compared to what I was paying last year. $3.50. Yesterday it was $3.42 before I got on the freeway. People are looking at the president. This is the things that you can do. And when people are looking around and saying, hey, could we see $5 a gallon? Because you're seeing it in some places. Could we see $4 a gallon nationwide? That's not a winner. It's not.
To put 15 gallons in a car's tank, which many people are doing at least once a week, if not more, it now costs almost $80 every time you fill up around L.A. Many areas of California are now hovering around $5 a gallon for regular unleaded. The Energy Department says statewide the average price for regular unleaded is now $4.47 a gallon. Nationwide, $3.41, up 2 cents in the past week, and $1.31 higher per gallon than this time last year.
Think about that. If he's thinking about dipping into the strategic petroleum, this is where a leader leads, where you go over to OPEC and you say, and you backdoor and you talk to them, say, hey, look, here's the deal, guys. We know it was a struggle for you last year. We get that. You got the spigot on. We're not asking you to drop it to the point where you guys don't make money. That's not what we're about. You guys are a cartel. We totally understand that. You guys are going to do what you're going to do. That's fine. Help a brother out. Because otherwise, we're going to take some other measures that may hurt you. And we don't want to get into this tit-for-tat battle here. Let's just see what we can do to ease some of this. It's not just for us. It's for the world. It's not just for us. It's for everybody. Again, we're not asking you to take it to zero. What we are asking is just turn the spigot on a little bit more. Drive some of these prices down. Make it profitable for you. Yet at the same time, manageable over here. Will he? I don't know. I don't know. But you got more and more Dems who are looking and saying it's not just about this. You got the heating oil crisis that's going to happen, the natural gas issues that are going to happen. And with the cost of all of those things throughout the Northeast, in particular, through the Midwest and parts where so much of that is going to be sticker shock for a lot of people in what they're calling potentially a cooler or colder than normal winter, that is not a good thing. This is what people do when they're leaders. They try to figure out, what can I do to move it along? How can I push forward certain things? We're not asking you to fix it long term today because it's not going to affect. We live in the now. I continue to tell people that. You can plan for the future, but you live in the now. Planning for the future is great, but the reality is today is what you're worried about at this moment in time. And think about it. The more expensive it all is, that means the more expensive it is to get your food places, to get your items places, take away even the supply chain issues. All of those things are seeing a bump in price, and that adds up. Could he? Absolutely. Will he? That is going to be something that he's going to have to decide. But when you look at what just took place last week, especially in Virginia, and you're hearing people who are really disgruntled across the board about the cost of everything and the fact that their dollar's not going further, and you're pushing for more things that could see our dollar even weaken here. With inflation rising, the cost of everything, you better start making some serious choices. Google did this huge congressional district Googling data research. What are people talking about, basically? What's your neighbors talking about? What's the thing that people are looking at in your neighborhood? But you go and you look at everything, and guess what? Inflation, by and large, the number one thing. And the critical race theory, immigration, unemployment, but inflation everywhere because they're feeling it. It's the economy, stupid. Good and bad. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. When you listen to that and you say to yourself, how do you go about dealing with all of these things? But you've got this infrastructure bill. This looks great, right? We got a new infrastructure bill. It's going to be a ton of money, $1.2 trillion. I think they're going to got a little bit higher on that. But they want to spend money in other places. And they're hoping that that reconciliation bill passes. But then you've got your transportation chief, right? The guy who's running everything, the transportation secretary. He comes out and he does his first interview and he talks about, there was some issues with, I guess, the kids and whatnot. People are looking, it's like we've had our biggest transportation issue that we've had in a very long time when it comes to things like, yes, the supply chain. You were nowhere to be seen. But then he talks about this.
I'm still surprised that some people were surprised when I pointed to the fact that if a highway was built for the purpose of dividing a white and a black neighborhood, or if an underpass was constructed such that a bus carrying mostly black and Puerto Rican kids to a beach, or that would have been, in New York was designed too low for it to pass by, that obviously reflects racism that went into those design choices. I don't think we have anything to lose by confronting that simple reality. And I think we have everything to gain by acknowledging it and then dealing with it, which is why the Reconnecting Communities, that $1 billion, is something we want to get to work right away.
You got to check the boxes, right, all the time. You've got to check the boxes about talking about reconnecting. People, look, back in the day, were things done? Yes, they were. They were. By the way, it's been that way forever. Not that it's like people go, all right, we're going to make these people live over here and that people. Because, yes, in the South and certain parts of the country, absolutely. I come from the West Coast. The West Coast's always been kind of hippie and weird, but we've always had the places you live and the places you don't, depending on the money you have. You go back in the day, you hear stories about Compton, right? Compton, oh my goodness, man, that's where the Crips and the Bloods and all that. Compton in the 60s was upper middle class. Something happened. Beverly Hills and Compton were kind of somewhat ish comparable. But you're talking about that in the time that people are looking around going, hey, transportation secretary, why can't we get our stuff? Hey, transportation secretary, this should be the biggest boon for you, but what are you doing at this moment in time to push the president to maybe release some of those strategic petroleum reserves so we can start to see some of these gas prices come down? What are you going to do to help when it comes to interdriving commerce so maybe these guys and gals who are driving the trucks can skip certain things and do certain things so we can get things in places faster as we head towards the Christmas season? No, you want to talk about woke stuff. People don't want to hear that. They don't. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to look at gas prices rising. They look at heating prices like heating oil.
New numbers out from the Energy Department show yet again in the past week the average price of regular unleaded rose by 2 cents to $3.41 a gallon. $3.41 a gallon. $3.41. It's my buddy Alex Stone. $3.41. $1.40 almost higher than last year. I can't blame it all on you, but all of you, whether you're transportation secretary, the energy secretary, all of you should be pushing on what you can do. This is where leaders lead. I don't want Biden to fail, because if he fails, we all fail. If he struggles, we all struggle. The fact that you have to go out there and you're being told, hey, you know what? I'm hearing from my constituents. They're not very happy. I'm hearing from people. We just got our ass served. Why aren't you going, hey, guys, transportation guy who got 8 weeks off, 12 weeks off, whatever it was, Pete, Mayor, Pete, you, what can we do? I mean, you've got
you were the mayor of Fort Wayne or whatever. You've got to have some big understanding of intertrade and commerce when it comes to moving stuff. Senator Granholm, you big with the energy you got. Like, what can we do? This is where energy leaves. This is where you call in, right? Because let's be real, he's a corporatist as much as he is anything else. Hey, let's call our people and what can we do? Again, the stuff that you're trying to do now, as far as we're not drilling on federal land, we're not doing all of these things, that's a ways away. What can we do today? People hurt today. They're trying to survive today. Yes, they care about tomorrow, but tomorrow for them, when it comes to their finances, isn't a big deal. Today is. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. Hope you guys had a wonderful night. A lot of stuff to get to. We're going to squeeze it all in today. We're going to try to. Man, there's so much. Sometimes you guys have no idea. We go through stuff. We'll look. We'll pick 40 or 50 stories we want to do. We may only get to 6 or 8 or 10 in a day. Sometimes a little bit more. Sometimes because of the news cycle, a little bit less of what's going on. But we got so much today. We do. We absolutely do. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. I give it to my dogs every day. You guys hear me talk about Doodle. But I also give it to my younger dogs, my puppies. I want them to start off right. They're very active. They love to play. And I want them to start off right. Plus, my giant iguana, Winston, he sometimes thinks they're walking around bananas. So I also want them to be spry and nimble. And they are. But the other thing is last year when we had Red and our puppy Bowie, both of them had issues with things like allergies. So we gave them Canine Vitasmart. And, man, to see their coats, but to see the fact that everybody else's dogs I talk to, they're all having some issues out here with allergies, not them. Their coats look amazing. They're healthy. They're happy. It's got vitamins, minerals, probiotics, all these amazing things in it. Try it for free. Rough Greens wants to send you a bag. No questions asked. You try it. All you do is cover the cost of shipping. I think that's a fair trade. Watch the difference in your dogs. RUFFgreens.com/chat. Roughgreens.com/chat. Or call 833-MY-DOG-77. 833-MY-DOG-77. Get your free bag of Rough Greens. Cover the cost of shipping. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
I usually don't get into politics. As an ordinary suburban housewife, I feel a little disrespected. I teach my children not to name call.
You are a blabbermouth! Come on, man!
Guys, can we please keep the chatter to a minimum?
Chad Benson.
Get ready to be delayed even more when it comes to things like strikes, because they're going to be happening sooner rather than later. I was talking to producer Anta today. He said, did you hear about the strike? Kaiser Permanente, who runs a huge healthcare facility out in California and a few other places, and it's all like inclusive. So you don't go to Kaiser. You don't go anywhere else. Kaiser's one of those, if you don't know what it is, you sign up with Kaiser. It's like a hospital and insurance. It's all in once, all the facilities. They're all associated with Kaiser. And 30,000 people are getting ready to walk out. Some of it has to do with the two-tiered pay system. Some of it has to do with some of the vax stuff. So they're getting ready. John Deere is on strike right now, and their people said they're not coming back. They made, quote-unquote, a final offer to them, also about a two-tiered system where they want everybody to pay the same, even if you've been there for a week or, 15 years, whatever it is. It's kind of the way they're looking at it. And so there's a fight going on there, and more could be on the way.
The people now have the power, and they're using it. A wave of workers' strikes sweeping across America.
I'm blown away. I really didn't see it coming.
And we may see more high-profile strikes as unions up their demands.
Kellogg's union workers have officially been out here for 31 days with no end in sight.
And now it's not a matter of if we will have a union, but when we will have a union. We will be the first Starbucks in the country of 8,000 stores to unionize.
Yeah, that's coming. So you thought your $4 latte was expensive now. It's on its way.
And the data shows this shift is widespread. Over 170 strikes this year. Public that has soured on unions back from their heyday in the 1960s has changed. We now see public opinion warming towards organized labor with a 68% approval of unions. That's a 50-year high. And the roots of this shift are clearly deeper than the pandemic. America's wealth inequality also hitting all-time highs. Billionaires share their often gauche lifestyles, from their huge yachts to their spaceships. Their tax is literally lower than most workers, sometimes even hitting zero.
A lot of upset work. I mean, we're just tired of being in the background and watching these CEOs make all this money.
Yeah, and they're evil and they're bad, and we get it. CEOs make a lot of money. They're horrible and they're bad. It's funny, you know what I always laugh about like this? Do some of these people, right, a few of them make money that is ridiculous? Of course. Do I care? No. I've never cared what somebody else makes. Did they take a risk long ago to build something that may have gone to hell in a handbasket and they could have lost everything? How about all of those people out there we never hear about? But right now, this is, you know, what they're doing. And it isn't so much of it now has become what they have, what you don't have. What they have that they don't deserve, what you should have and you do deserve. It's class warfare.
Hi, this is Katie. I was just calling to let you know that I am not coming in tonight or ever.
In August alone, 4.3 million Americans quit their jobs. That's almost 3% of the workforce.
That is enough quitting to put a dent in how much some employers can just keep taking staff or their replacements for granted. So this is actually different than organized labor formally pooling power in strikes. But it can yield some of the same benefits as corporations feel pressure from these moves.
I went out to get my letter of resignation. It's an I'm sorry for your loss card, and it says it's me, you're losing me.
Did you listen to that, though? Taken for granted. It's always something like that. Oh, they take it for granted. You guys are you're the victims. It's another victim world that we live in. You don't have to work at those places. This is the next battle, and the employees right now, they've got an opportunity to strike. We'll see what that looks like. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The book, great. The interviews I've seen with her have been great. She is the deputy opinion editor at Newsweek, but she got a book out. And I was just talking to her. I go, how do you want me to introduce you? She gave me, hey, deputy, opinion editor and author of Bad News, How Woke Media is Undermining Democracy. Batya Ungar-Sargon has joined us. And let me tell you something. I've gotten through some of the book, and it's awesome. But I've seen a lot of your interviews, and you knock it out of the park. And I'm excited to have you on because, quite frankly, I think, I'm trying to do something here with radio, which is different, which is reach everybody and try to expand the tent of normalcy. And I think you're trying to do the same thing with this book.
Wow, thank you so much for saying that. That means so much to me because I can tell that you're actually reading it. I totally agree with you. I'm completely trying to be a unifier, not a divider, just like you are on your show. I think that's the most important thing for every American to commit to right now. Be a unifier, not a divider. So I'm so thrilled that you're picking that up from the book.
So what made you, you've obviously written for the Post and the Forward and of course now, you're over there doing your thing at Newsweek. What made you want to do this and this topic in particular?
So you're going to like this a lot. This was not actually the book that I wanted to write. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm very proud of it and I'm thrilled that it exists. But I was doing a lot of reporting in the South during the Trump era. And I was finding a lot of very surprising things for a lefty journalist from New York, specifically that Americans are much more united than our media is telling us and than our politicians want us to believe. And like on the most important issues, things like equality, things like the evils of racism, things like LGBTQ rights, Americans are just not divided on these issues anymore. We all sort of agree about the importance of, you know, every person being equal before the law, things like that. And I just was never seeing this reported. And I thought, this is such amazing news. Surely everybody wants to know that Americans are finally, for the first time in history, united around the values that this great nation was founded upon. And I could not sell that book. I mean, nobody would buy the book. They kept saying to me, editor after editor, you know, there's no market for this. And finally, a very kind editor sat me down and said, look, you know, you're telling me we're not that divided. This is news to me. I'm shocked by this. Why do I think we are if we're not? Why are all Americans so convinced that we're so polarized if you're saying that we're not? Why don't you write that book? So that's the book I wrote. I wrote a book about how the media has developed a contempt for the working class, and it is disguising and legitimizing that contempt with a moral panic around race that is much more related to class issues and to the fact that the media is part of the elite now than it is to race or even to politics. So that's my book, Bad News in a Nutshell.
Talking to you, Batya Ungar-Sargon, who has written an amazing book. It's called Bad News, How Woke Media is Undermining Democracy. And it's funny because one of the things you talk about, and I think a lot of people don't realize, is, you know, originally media, in particular the news media, wasn't meant for a certain class of people. It was meant for another class of people that were essentially, they thought, reading and talking above the other people.
That is exactly right. So the book starts actually in the 19th century at the dawn of American journalism, which was actually a populist movement. A bunch of guys showed up, Joseph Pulitzer most famously. He looked around. He saw that all of the poor and the working class in America were literate, but that all of the newspapers were being produced for the elites. And he thought, my God, there are so many poor and working class people. If I make a newspaper for them, I'm going to get rich. And that's exactly what he did. He himself was not educated. He hired only people from the milieu he was speaking to, working class people, and he got so rich. His newspaper was the number one newspaper in the world at the time, number one circulation, and the profession was a working class trade throughout much of the 20th century until the mid-century. In 1937, the elite journalists, the ones at the top of their game in Washington, 1937, less than half of them had a college degree, and a number of them hadn't even gone to high school, okay? Fast forward to 2015, and you'll be shocked to learn that 92% of journalists today have a college degree. There's been a total status revolution in the profession from working class trade that you picked up on the job from somebody who hadn't been educated. Today, it's like, in order to become a journalist, you have to go not just to college, but to the most elite colleges. You have to take unpaid internships in the most expensive American cities. So ask yourself, who can afford to live in New York City on an unpaid internship? Only the children of privilege, only the children of the rich. And that's who journalists are today.
Absolutely. And I don't think people understand. I mean, we have a lot of, we're in the station. I mean, we've got a lot of interns, and, you know, none of them seem to be, you know, starving for a meal, or many of them are living better than the actual journalists that are working at this point in time. So we flash forward to today. You went down, you're in the South, right? Like, you know, New York Times, they were shocked. Trump won. They go, yeah, we got to hire somebody. Who are these people that live? Did you know there were people that live between New York and Los Angeles? And so here comes Bari Weiss, and she goes out there and she goes, you guys missed the point. But they didn't want to hear from her and what she had to report. Did you find a lot of that where, like you said, people were asking you, well, how can this be that we're not divided? Because I think it's a shock to a lot of people that we're not as divided as they would like to make us out to think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, the New York Times, when it would send out reporters to talk to Trump voters, every single time you open an article like that, at some point they call them racist. It's just the way that a liberal elite has justified sneering at people who have lost on every measure that they have won on. I mean, that's why I wrote that book. It's just like that sneering, that contempt. I just can't stand it anymore. It's so disgusting to have contempt for people who the economy is not working for, you know, people who are downwardly mobile while you're sitting there in this sort of meritocratic race that you're totally winning, and you're sneering down your nose. So the book opens with this scene at CNN where two CNN hosts who are worth millions and millions of dollars are sitting there saying everyone who voted for Trump is racist, right? Trump, who won the vast majority of Americans without a college degree, right? They're sitting there, these millionaires, sneering at the people who don't have a college degree. It's just so gross, and using race in order to do that. Now, I'll tell you a very funny story. One of the stories that I reported from the South, I reported because I read an account of it in the New York Times, and I thought, something is off here. Like, something was off. It was about a white man who's in a group called Sons of Confederate Veterans, whose best friend was a black man who was the deacon of a church. Okay, and they're telling this story, and of course casting this man as racist, the head of the Sons of Confederate Veterans, right? And the two men are sitting there on a church bench, and it's clear that they're best friends. I thought, I wonder what's going on. It was never explained. You know what I mean? I go down there, I meet them, and these guys are best friends. And the local chapter of Sons of Confederate Veterans in this neighborhood, they spend their weekends fixing up black churches. That's how these guys met. And if you say to them, wait, you guys are part of Sons of Confederate Veterans, like, why are you, fixing up black churches? They look at you very confused. They say, because we're a heritage society and this is our heritage. Like, in their mind, there's just no gap there. And they're very close with the black community where they live, right? It's just, you would never hear a story like that in the New York Times unless it was being misreported, right?
Absolutely. We're talking to Batya Ungar-Sargon, who's got a great new book out. It's called Bad News: How Woke Media is Undermining Democracy. She's also, a pretty damn good journalist, deputy opinion editor at Newsweek. But, let's flash forward to this past week. The Democrats had an agenda. The Republicans want to figure out how you fix people's problems, especially with inflation and everything. You had a lieutenant governor. You had two of the three statewide races that all three went to the Republicans. Two of them are people of color. And yet I sit here and all I hear is, well, they're just mouthpieces for white supremacy. Who buys that anymore?
It's so funny. To me, I look at Glenn Youngkin's victory, and I think that Glenn Youngkin, the reaction in the media to Glenn Youngkin's victory is the reason that he won, right? Like, the way that they responded, you see why he won. They responded by doing what they always do. Racist, 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 racist. Glenn Youngkin won by using dog whistles, right? Which is obviously not true at all. The reason he won was because people are sick of being lectured to by a media elite that doesn't understand them. And it's so interesting because, Youngkin won for a number of reasons. I think you're absolutely right. The number one reason was inflation. People want to turn to state. They're turning against the Democrats who are in charge. They're unhappy with how Biden is ruling, especially on economics. That all of the surveys show that, economics was the economy was the number one reason that people were turning out to vote. The number two reason was schools, right? And so specifically critical race theory, right? Now, notice how the media, the liberal media, what they say to parents about critical race theory, they'll say to them like this. They'll say, you don't know what critical race theory is, and therefore when you say you are unhappy that it's in your schools, that's just a racist dog whistle because you don't know what it is. Have you seen them saying that? Essentially
all the
what
time.
They're saying is, right, they're saying, I, the highly educated journalist, do understand what critical race theory is, but you could never understand what it is. You wouldn't recognize it if you saw it. The only reason you know it exists is because Fox News has hypnotized you and bamboozled you. You see that move, that contempt? It's the same thing that they were doing you remember that book, What's the Matter with Kansas, from 2005, when they were saying, why is the white working class voting against its economic interests? Oh, because, and their answer was, instead of saying, because the Democrats had abandoned their economic interests too, because Bill Clinton sent all their jobs to China, schizophrenia, instead of saying that, they said, oh, it's because they've been bamboozled by conservative media, which is racist and race baiting, right? And it's, white grievance. You're always hearing about white grievance. What they don't tell you is that Glenn Youngkin won the majority of Hispanics. They don't tell you that Glenn Youngkin flipped a majority black district, that black parents are complaining about critical race theory in their schools. And it's true, yeah, maybe these parents can't define exactly what critical race theory is. That doesn't mean that they don't have a right to say, my children's lessons are bothering me. It's not going the way that it used to. I hear them talking about white supremacy. I hear them obsessing over the color of their skin. I don't like that. I want it to go back to what it was. You know what I mean? They use their educational privilege to browbeat people, and then they use accusations of racism in order to silence them.
Talking to Batya Ungar-Sargon, deputy opinion editor at Newsweek, but an author, an awesome one at that. Bad News, How Woke Media is Undermining Democracy. All right, last question. I love having you on, and I hope to have you on again soon. The reality is it's a business. And I mean, you point out in this, again, the business side of it, and we're far more competitive than we ever were. Every human being now that has a phone at any given time may become a journalist in any way, shape, or form. And because of that, journalism isn't journalism anymore. It's as much reality TV because it's as much about grabbing people's attention as it is telling the truth. And that's a tough thing out there because you know this as better than I do, that many of these people are paid by clicks, by views, by shares, and you have to serve an audience. And that's a tough thing if you want to be fair and balanced, if you will. But the reality is you got to pick a lane sometimes.
Yeah, the worst part about this sort of model of media is that it's extremely profitable. So the New York Times is making money hand over fist by leaning into highly affluent, highly educated liberal elites and, sort of silencing everybody else and erasing everybody else and calling everybody who disagrees racist. It's very, very profitable. And so in the end of the book, I have some recommendations, but they're for individual Americans. I think, we Americans, we're too smart for this. Like we're better than this. And the fix to our terrible media is in a massive consumer boycott, which is already underway, by the way. Americans have very little trust in their media, and it's in finding shows like yours where you're getting your news from a uniter, not a divider, and a lot of that work happens in your own heart. So when you're online and you see some article in the New York Times or somewhere else that makes you really, really enraged, or you see an article by somebody who you disagree with and you feel that, like, it feels almost like road rage, right? You feel so angry, like, how could somebody on the internet think this? Every time you feel that rage, someone's making $1 million. Like, they've hacked our hearts to make us hate people we've never met, people who we have more in common with than we ever have in the history of the universe. The work of unlearning that, the work of remembering what it feels like to respect somebody you disagree with, it starts at home. It starts, in your own heart, in your own person, and in refusing to allow yourself to become, in refusing to allow them to co-opt your feelings about your fellow Americans. We have to always keep remembering the way that you do and the way you open that more unites us than divides us.
Absolutely. Batya Ungar-Sargon, I can't wait to have you on again, deputy editor, opinion editor at Newsweek, and the book, amazing. Bad News, How Woke Media is Undermining Democracy. You're out there and about. Buy the book. It's all over the place. You need to get an Audible version of it. I'm just throwing that out there. Get that thing done. And when you're hanging out with Bridget Fetsy, watch out. She's a good time.
Thank you so much for having me. What a pleasure and an honor. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. You have a good one.
You too.
323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet, text, great book right there. Check it out. We'll throw it up on the social media as well at Chad Benson Show. It's the Chad Benson Show.
No fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
So I finished, 7-7 in my football picks. Last night, the Steelers, they won. I'm watching the game last night, and it was actually a pretty damn good game. But something weird happened. So the Steelers were driving, and Bears were giving them everything they got. The Bears looked to have sacked Ben Roethlisberger, which they did. Cassius Marsh was his name. Blonde-haired, like strawberry blonde, toe-haired guy, just absolutely inked up. He had just been activated from the practice squad. Like, this guy is straight out of Central Casting. He's inked up, and it's all, his arms are like, bright blue and green, and he does this ninja's, sideways kick that apparently he's been doing for years in the league. Then he takes like a step over towards the bench of the Steelers, of which he was in their camp, and he just looks at him. Doesn't say a word. Right? So the Bears are going to be getting the ball back. They're down by a couple. And he just kind of looks at him, and as he turns, he heads towards his bench. Everybody's celebrating, and the ref throws a flag, and as he's getting ready to throw the flag, it looks like he kind of moves his elbow. Then he hip checks the guy. Then he throws the flag. It was kind of ridiculous. And they said it's a point of emphasis this year to stop the taunting. It's an emotional game. It is. It's an emotional game. People get emotional. When your job is to smash other people, and you hype it up all week as you got to do this, you got to do that, and you play on adrenaline because it's not in people's nature to smash other people, they will have an emotion at times. I thought it was kind of a raw deal. But at least I finished 7-7, so no losing that weekend. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Batya Ungar-Sargon. You want to get her book? Check everything out, and I'll post the interview up if you missed it on our Twitter page. It's just it's a great read, great book, and interesting to say the least. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Out of touch. You want to know what out of touch is? San Francisco Chronicle. This shows you everything you need to know about the insanity of what goes on in California and how poorly it's run. Is asking questions. This is great. Hey, crime's up. You guys get that, right? We're doing all we can to not stop crime. But can we do more? Can we do more? And they asked their readers, kind of suggest, hey, shouldn't we just kind of tolerate burglaries? Kind of like, you live in the city, so this is kind of, what goes on. So this is, it's like, it's part of it. No. Should repeat offenders get rehabilitation service or incarcerated so they can't commit more crimes? While some people in the city are appalled by the crime rates, others have grudgingly accepted this element of city living. How absolutely stupid are you if you begrudgingly believe that people robbing you is just like a toll? It's part of what we do. It's part of the toll we pay. Can't help it, guys, I remember one time, so I'll take you guys into my life. So my sister's had a lot of real issues. You guys have listened to the show over the years. You've known lots of bad drug problems. I love my sister. We don't talk much. I'm the only person she talks to in the family. At the same time, I've got 7 nieces and nephews that my mom's adopted. They're my little brothers and sisters. I have a brother that is 11 and another brother that's 9. I'm 50. They're my nephews, but still. One of my brothers Spencer, he's in a wheelchair. Drugs. Because of her. When she was starting to have bad issues, I remember I came home one year, and during the off season, I do soccer camps. Here I was playing in Europe, and I was doing soccer camps. Right? So I'm doing soccer camps, and, at the end of the week, the guy would give us like $600-700 cash. And we'd go out, we'd run around from like 9 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. Really what we did was like, oh my God, these kids are just expensive cones. So we could all keep fit. We had a great time. And my sister at the time was starting to get in that position. But my family hadn't really told me where she was. Like, how bad it was getting. But I remember one night, her and her boyfriend wanted to go out and get a bite to eat or something. And she goes, Jack, can I borrow $20? I said, yeah. She took all the money out of my wallet. And my mother's reaction was, you shouldn't have left your wallet there. And I said to myself, and then to her, listen to yourself. Listen to what you just said. I shouldn't have left my wallet in the house I grew up in with my family, as if I should have known that part of what this girl does is steal, and that somehow you greenlight it as if, well, that's the cost of doing business. San Francisco's asking the same question. Across the country, they've been asking the same question. Is this just the cost of doing business in the city? Is allowing people to crap and pee in front of your doorways, through millennials to throw, all kinds of crazy, insane fits every single night in the name of justice? To allow people to steal things rampantly and say, well, they have a need. That's what happens when you allow that to happen all the time. You get what you get. If you allow a child to do stuff over and over again with zero consequences, what do you think is going to happen? First of all, can I just say, that right there is abuse. That is abuse. Because you are not doing what you need to do to make sure you give the discipline and the guidance. And if you allow people to rob and steal for the sake of whatever reason, their habit, and I'm not talking, let's be real, we're not talking about a dad living in his car as everybody would like to portray it, right? In all of these city councils that are woke. Oh, excuse me, we don't use that word anymore. Why don't you use that word? Because everybody found out what it meant and they make fun of you, so now you've moved on to something else. Old people use that word. And by the way, we're not old, we're just digitally advanced. We're digit advanced. But when you allow people to do those things, and then you paint the picture as it's just a single mom trying to feed her kid. Nobody's begrudging somebody that. Come on, let's be real. And that's when you reach out. Those people are so few and far between. It's drug addicts. It's people who are mentally unstable. And it's people that realize that they have zero fear of getting caught and anything actually happening to them. And then you wonder why. You're like, I can't believe the Republicans are winning in some of these issues. It's fascinating. Well, it must be because of systematic racism and misogyny, and they are climate deniers. They're, stop it. That you would even ask a question, even hint at, like, hey guys, is it okay if so-and-so comes over here and steals a bunch of stuff, but only so much because he's got a drug problem? Does he really have a drug problem? Maybe. Or does he really like the fact that he has zero repercussions? Just curious. I'm asking, but I'm a little curious. You clowns. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text said program. Love hearing from all of you. Gas prices on the rise. Here's another thing. Right? What are you doing as leaders to fix these issues? Government gets in the way of so many things. I think we all know that. California is a perfect example of overwrought with government overreach and stupid, ill-informed voters. Well, how are they stupid, Chad? That's really mean. So you mean to tell me that your taxes, which you pay for gas in the state, which are next to Hawaii, I think the highest in the country, if not the highest, which they had to raise those taxes because all of the money that they raised from those taxes originally was spent on a bunch of other crap. And then they came and said, hey, guys, you'll never believe what we did. Remember all that money we took from you? Yeah, we screwed the pooch and spent it on a bunch of other stuff. We're going to need you to give us more. What? And they did. But now across the country, people are looking up. Not just in California, everywhere else. They're going, well, these gas prices are out of control. Is it Biden's fault? Not directly. Can Biden do some stuff? That's the big question. But how high are prices?
To put 15 gallons in a car's tank, which many people are doing at least once a week, if not more, it now costs almost $80 every time you fill up around L.A. Many areas of California are now hovering around $5 a gallon for regular unleaded. The Energy Department says statewide the average price for regular unleaded is now $4.47 a gallon. Nationwide, $3.41, up 2 cents in the past week, and $1.31 higher per gallon than this time last year.
All right, leader, lead. You want to be the leader of the free world? You were elected to this. Yes, he was elected, and by that I mean they voted Trump out, and he got the job. How do you do it? Well, even Democrats are going, man, you may need to dip into the strategic thing we got over here, the strategery, petroleum supply, because prices are going up, cost of heating oil, cost of everything going up, up. We just lost some elections because people are worried about inflation and the economy and what this may do as they go hand in hand. And you have the means if you cannot get through to OPEC. And you can send somebody to go talk to OPEC, right? Like that's okay, right? You know? Granholm, you can go send her. You can send a few other people to maybe make some phone call. You can do that. But every once in a while, maybe in between farts, you need to pick up the phone and make a call. If you guys didn't know what that was about, Camila Parker Bowles was talking about at the climate change thing. He had some climate change going on. That's all she could talk about. But maybe you do that. Hey, guys, love what you're doing with the place. Fantastic. Great move on murdering a bunch of people for no reason and suppressing the women. But in between, could you turn the spigot off a little bit? Oh, Chad, that's not very nice. I think it's very honest. Please, I mean, we've got all these reserves over here, and we could flood the market, and that's stupid. We want you guys to be able to make money. We're not asking you to turn the spigot all the way on and overflow. What we're saying is, could you at least help a brother out? I mean, come on. Come on, MBS. We looked the other way when you went and killed that journalist. It was an American resident. We didn't really do anything. We kind of knew it was you. We saw the 60 Minutes interview. Come on, we're not a fool. Is there anything you guys could do? Just asking for a friend. Or you go out and you say, look, if not, then just let us know now, because then we're going to go and we'll release our strategic supplies to at least get us by for the next couple months, and then we can revisit it. We understand you guys were hurt last year because of everything, but this is just, I'm throwing it out there. We'll see if he does that. He might not. But you continue to see people who get snarky and kind of chuckle or grimace when people ask about inflation and gas prices, and this administration's doing that. You know what you're going to get? More and more of what you saw last week. Bye-bye. We don't need that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. I do. My Pillow right now. BOGO, buy one, get one free. It's what it's called. It's the Giza Dream Sheets. Sahara Desert, Nile, Mediterranean. Right in there, they grow long staple cotton, which is amazing. The best cotton. I'm telling you guys, when you slide in these sheets, you're never going to feel anything like this. It is so amazing. Kind of a sateen feel. Never sleep too cool, never sleep too hot. 60-day money-back guarantee from King all the way down, all the sizes and colors you need. 1-year limited warranty, machine washable, best sheet you're ever going to own. Deep discounts across every single MyPillow product. And right now, with the sheets, great time for Christmas gifts. Buy one, get one free. Buy one, get one free. Buy a set, get another set for free. It's that simple. Go to MyPillow.com. Use the promo code Benson. MyPillow.com. Promo code Benson. Absolutely love these things. Deep discounts on everything from the MyPillow to the mattress topper to the slippers and everything in between. Get your MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Buy one, get one free right now. MyPillow.com. Promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
You go, boy.
This isn't about right or left. This is just about right and wrong.
Right you are, Chad. The Chad Benson Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Let us take a peek and find out what's trending. Start with Twitter. Always fun stuff going on in Twitter. Mostly people arguing about stuff, but you guys know that. That's what we do. We argue with people we'll never meet. Ann Coulter calls Donald Trump objectively stupid. Said the people that follow him continue to follow him because he continues to tell lies. Uh-oh. Yeah. So there's going to be a fight there. Obviously, a lot of stuff going on when it comes with what's happening with Astroworld, and we'll touch on that in a bit. You know, the Jenner, Kylie Jenner's been blamed for stuff. There's all kinds of lies going out. Oh, it's about a satanic cult ritual and all this. Again, how fast does insanity spread? Much like panic, it spreads fast when given the right tools. AIDS is spreading. Why? Because Ryan White. Dennis Prager yesterday, who had gotten COVID, said he wanted to. He said, during the AIDS crisis, can you imagine that the vast majority of people with AIDS have been the pariahs the way that non-vaccinated are? In an interview with Newsmax, I have news for you, Dennis. They were. They absolutely 100% were. Touch on that one in a little bit as well. Jim Jones is trending because apparently Leonardo DiCaprio is in talks to star and produce in a Jim Jones movie, which I think would be very interesting. Head over to Google. Steelers win last night. Number one trending thing. 2 million searches yesterday. Kyle Rittenhouse. Remember him? Kenosha, the shooter, kid from Illinois, came over. It was the summer of discontent. Is trending as well. 2 people were killed. The only person who survived being shot by Kyle Rittenhouse took the stand, and one of the things he did say is he did point the gun at him. So I think there was confusion. He also said that he thought Kyle was a, mass shooter. It was chaotic. It was crazy. I don't think he's going to get life in prison or anything like that, but I do think that, who knows what's going to happen. Because they also, if you've not followed the case, they've talked on numerous occasions. The right held him up as a hero. The left held him up as the version of what white supremacy is. The reality is he was a misguided, idiot, young kid whose parents should have said, hey, clown, who's my son? Do not take a gun and go to this damn thing. In fact, you don't need to go to this thing at all. At all. Damian Arnett is also trending. So the Raiders last week, Henry Ruggs, their number one pick in 2020, crashed and killed somebody, double the legal limit alcohol-wise. He was cut by the Raiders. Damon Arnett, their other number one pick from that year, was also cut because in a video, he's threatening to kill people and pointing a gun. Needless to say, if you are the GM, you don't put that on your resume. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Fallout continues when it comes to Astroworld, what took place at Astroworld. As 8 people are dead, 375 or so injured. Horrible situation. And people are looking at Travis Scott, who is, well, this is his thing, right? So if you don't know what Astroworld is it kicks off in Houston, and it is a festival, right? Like you would think about what a festival would be. If you go to places like, so let's just say for the sake of argument, you went to Coachella. If you've ever been to Coachella, maybe a place like Lollapalooza. It's not just these festivals aren't just like, hey, you go there, you listen to music, there's a few stages, if that. No, there are several stages, but you go there and they've got rides and attractions, and it's like going to the fair, but the fair is built around music, and he kicks off Astroworld in his festival, and then he goes on tour, and the tour is not the same, but that's how he starts. There's 50,000 people there. Supposed to be a ton of bands. I mean, a ton of bands that were going to be there. Like, you know, we're not talking, I mean, we were talking about like a ton of stars. This isn't just like, it wasn't just Travis Scott, and this is his. Bad Bunny, Chief Keef, SZA, Young Thug, Master P, Tame Impala, Earth, Wind and Fire, Roddy Ricch. I mean, you can go on and on about all of, again, it was kind of like this. And then, of course, the chaos happened. This is not his first issue with chaos. And people are pointing out the fact that before this, he was warned by some of the promoters, some of the other security. They were more worried, I think, at the potential of the history of the, you know, that they've had violence in some of these things, right? Where you know, you get around people partying, drinking, the potential for something bad to happen. Coachella is a perfect example. Coachella goes on 1 week, and then the following week is a big Coachella-like country western thing. They have more arrests in that 1 weekend with the country western than they do of all of Coachella for their 2 weeks. So they were worried about that kind of violence potentially. And they were also worried about overdoses. In fact, they had a code word, Smurf. If somebody had died, don't say deceased or death. Use the word Smurf. I don't think they were ready for this the way that it happened, but people knew.
Travis Scott concerts. What's the history here?
The history is a pretty violent one. Back in 2017 here in New York, Travis Scott begged a fan to jump off a second-story balcony. That fan was luckily okay, but another fan says that he was pushed off and was ultimately paralyzed at that show. And despite that, Travis Scott talked to lyrics about how he needs to see injuries in the mosh pit.
Yeah. Now, when I was a kid growing up, you know, I was a bit of a punk rocker. We did our stuff. We went. And the mosh pit was much different. You're slamming into each other. You're crashing into each other. The people had kind of almost like a school fight where, you know, they would open up the hole and, you know, and there's this big hole and people are running into each other. It wasn't what this was. People this is something wholly different. You know, and people, you know, when I was a kid too, tell the story was, I went to a Fishbone concert. If you don't know who Fishbone is, Great, fun ska punk band. Party at Ground Zero. Great song. I went to a concert once, and I don't think the kids knew exactly what to do because one of the guys in the band did a stage dive, and then everybody moved rather than catch him. And he smashed down. They kept playing, but he didn't move. Travis Scott liked this stuff. He liked to see, he said he wanted to hear the thunder, right? He wanted to feel the ground shake. I can't blame him for that, you know? But he was being told.
One of the things apparently he said from the stage this time is, he wanted to see the ground shake with the crowd there. I guess it depends on what he meant by that, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, things like that, I want to see the ground shake, all that, that's all fine as far as I'm concerned. But what did happen is the show was stopped 3 times, and it wasn't stopped and then stopped permanently. It was stopped and then resumed. That's a problem because after the very first song, fans were chanting, stop the show, and the show didn't stop. It went on for another 35 minutes or so.
Yeah. Did he know what was going to take place? That's the big thing. Did he know what was happening? Why did nobody run up and say, dude, you need to stop the show right now? Why did somebody in his camp not say, I'm going to take the initiative. I'm going to walk up to him and say, man, we got dead bodies. We got people here. We have people that are dying of heart attacks. We got to stop this now. We have to.
I just remember just having so much weight on my body, and I was pushing. I was fighting, and then I stopped because I was getting winded. I was using all the energy I had left in me, and I came to the point where I was accepting my death.
Yeah, I spoke to a young lady yesterday, Brianna Strauss, who is from ASU. She went there, and she kind of reiterated the same thing. She said the crowd swelled because people were out doing their own things, and then when they gave it like, hey, 2 hours till Travis comes on, everybody started moving over there, and then when it was the 10-minute like bell before Travis came on, it really started to get crazy, and then it really got crazy. But she said the same thing this concert goer said.
When we go to concerts and different events, we expect safety and security. And all the videos I've seen, I didn't see any security. I saw very little security. Yeah.
She said, I saw no security either, which is, to me, is very interesting. Because, like, when I've been to, because I've been to I've been to a ton of festivals and stuff, being in this business for a long time. I've worked in music radio. I've been to a ton of them. And I've been on all sides where you just go as a fan, but I've been on the other side where, you're working with the bands and you're bringing people to the stage and you're doing those kind of things. And I'll tell you, I mean, the front row is usually 50 security guards. You see them. Sometimes they got the yellow jackets on. Sometimes they're wearing the black shirt with a bright yellow on the back says security. They're off-duty officers. People said they saw none of that. Now, how real is that? I don't know. But this is the important thing is people like festivals. They like concerts. Live Nation's going to be paying out the wazoo. Several other promoters are going to be paying out. Travis Scott is going to be paying out. And now you're going to get to a point where, and I spoke yesterday to a guy named Barry Markson, who's an attorney here locally, but he does big cases. He says, look, you're going to get more and more insurance companies saying, I'm not going to do this, right? Any kind of issue where I think there could be an issue, we're not going to do that. And if you are going to get insured, it's going to cost you so much it might not be worth it, which means potentially there may not be concert series like this. You don't think that right now the amount of money at Coachella that they're going to have to pay for extra security guards because people are freaked out and because they're thinking to themselves, we can't have that? You don't think that's going to happen? And the insurance companies are going to have to pay through their nose? I mean, to some of these people, and they're looking around going, is it worth it? Is the next step, it's got to be all seats? I hope not. You ever seen that? I remember watching this documentary, and it was cool when I think it was Cheap Trick or Queen, one of them two, that were over in Japan, and at first they said it was just so weird because they just sat there, and eventually they got into it. We don't want that. We don't want that. But this is going to make changes because you know what we are? A reactionary society, and we'll react to something, and then we'll overreact to it. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. So Dennis Prager, if you guys don't know who he is a talk show host, much like me. And some of the stuff that Dennis does, I actually like. But some of it, like everything else, is, you throw it out there and you say crazy things. Because crazy things, unfortunately, win the day. Unfortunately, the louder and crazier you are, it wins the day. So he was on a Newsmax thing, and he talked about, AIDS and what it would have been like, because he had the coronavirus in a day and age where you're looking at people who are looking at coronavirus people as if they're freaks of nature, and he tried to equate the two.
No, what she found funny was that she doesn't have a magic wand, but somebody in her party has a magic wand.
Oh, he's talking about the magic wand of the gas prices. Then he went on to talk about the whole situation with him and equated himself almost to Ryan White. If you guys don't know who Ryan White is, Ryan White was a kid in the 80s who had a blood transfusion, and he got AIDS. And then nobody wanted him at school, and he had to sue to go back to school. And this is the 80s, right? We didn't know what we know now about AIDS, right? This wasn't Magic Johnson. You got HIV and AIDS, it was a death sentence. And when he talks about the fact that people might have been pariahs back in the day, if we'd have treated him like that, what would that have been like? Let me tell you something. I know what that would have been like. My cousin Ricky died of AIDS. He came to my dad's funeral. 6'1", 6'2". I think I was 16 years old. He was maybe 130 pounds. Nobody would get near him. We went over and we gave him a hug, and he was just bones. And then people got weird with us, my mom and everybody. And we didn't know we didn't know what it was. The way now we know everything about AIDS in a way that we've never thought. But to say that gay men in particular, even Ryan White, that nobody would have treated, everybody who had it back then was treated as if. Don't touch, don't get near. See the movie Philadelphia. That's all. But when you say things loud and you're insane, because that's what you're courting. You're not. Dennis Prager's a brilliant guy. He's super smart. But he got people talking about it. I'm here to tell you, it was sad watching my cousin die. When I was talking to my Uncle Dick, when we were there, because my mom asked him a question, and he said, she said, Dick, how's he doing? And he goes, Myrna, as we call my mom. He said, it's tough. I go to at least 2 funerals a week of his friends, and every one of them there knows that this is just another funeral before their funeral. And their parents don't come. And I'm like, ugh, it's tough. But to go, I was treated like this. Could you imagine treating people like this in the 80s? Oh, yeah, I remember it. And they did. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love to hear from all of you. Let me know how you feel about San Francisco's new, hey, isn't having yourself robbed and your house burglarized just kind of part of paying the price of living in a fantastic city where they have maps of poop? I'd love to hear what you think about that. Chad Benson Show.
Hashtag me too. Hashtag immigration reforms. Hashtag help. I'm trapped in a hashtag factory and I can't get out. The Chad Benson Show.
That's me, kids and kittens. None of you guys are aware of this, but apparently Emilio Estevez is no longer a mighty duck. Can you take that away from somebody? Once a duck, always a duck. Don't they fly in the V formation or whatever it is? He is not going to be back on the Mighty Ducks TV series, and a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's because of the vax thing," and you're sitting there laughing. I'm like, "Oh, because who was it? Somebody just left General Hospital, was booted because they wouldn't get vaxxed, because that's what we do now. Like, we're done with you. How dare you think outside the box?"
It was a big surprise last week.
I hate hockey, and I don't like kids.
We found out Mighty Ducks Game Changers star Emilio Estevez would not be returning to the show for season 2 on Disney+. Early reports said it had to do with the show's vaccine requirement on set. But Estevez says that's not true. In a statement to Deadline, he writes that he is not anti-vax. Full stop. He reveals he got COVID in March 2020, suffers from long-haul symptoms, and has taken COVID safety protocols very seriously. He says the reason he's not returning is nothing more than an old-fashioned contract dispute, creative differences, and that he is, quote, anti-bully.
Oh, so it may not be anti-vax, but it may be anti-vax standing. That may be it. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Maybe it is or isn't. They're fighting over stuff. It is pretty funny, though, that he's not going to be back because of that. And I think the guy got kicked off. I don't want to say kicked off, but he was fired, ceremoniously booted. Kicked off makes him seem like he's not allowed on set, and then they're going to go get a restraining order against him from General Hospital. But I don't think that's true either. But you're going to see more and more of this. And I go back to, what? You never see them ever talk about, like, if you're going to put, for me, right, this is just me, maybe other people, it's different. But if I'm saying, look, guys, we're going to have to do this, and we're going to revisit this every 90 days. We're going to have to do this, and we're going to have to revisit this once a year, while this thing is, quote unquote, a pandemic, and potentially while we learn about this thing. You never, ever, ever see them say, but after those 90 days or after 6 months or whatever, we're going to revisit it. So we don't have to have these mandates anymore. So we don't have to have these silly rules. There's an article yesterday in the National Review talking about, masking may be here to stay. And it may be. And I'm like, what? Yeah, because it stops stuff like colds and flu. But I thought we were going to have a horrible flu year. Well, frustrating. Just once, I'd like to see somebody who is in leadership say, look, you guys have given me all this power because you've entrusted me with it. My goal is to do the best I can to keep government out of your way, to guide the powers that be, to protect the citizens the best that we possibly can, to let you guys make your own informed decisions. But then eventually to give you back this power because it's not mine. It's yours. You will never see that. You're like, I think I should keep some more of this. Maybe this is good for everybody. Maybe we should keep it more. Maybe we should see what they can do. Take this little power out for a ride. That's how you can tell what a person's really like. When they have power and they use it sparingly and wisely, that you're like, that's a leader right there. When they grab it, continue to hold on to it, and push agendas and bully, that's when you go, wrong choice. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet and text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. Check out Getter and all the other things we're on. Goodness me, it's Tuesday already. This is Anthony's favorite day of the week. I'm lying. Our producer, Anthony, hates Tuesday. Hates it. Don't know. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Climate crisis! Doink Scoob! Climate's here. The crisis is real. Lee, silly. It's really silly. Chad, you're not going to... Yeah. I'm a big believer in taking care of what we got. Huge believer in that. Like deforestation in certain areas is horrible. Absolutely. I think the fact that we replant never gets talked about. I think about the fact that we have screwed up our waterways and done a lot of different things that we shouldn't have been doing, and that there are ways to handle this is an absolute must. 100%. But the insanity of some of this, the craziness of some of this, it to me is, and quite frankly, the virtue signaling and some of this other stuff that goes on with it, it's just nuts. It is. Our buddy, Senator John Kennedy, no, not that one, the really funny one. He is funny, but he says something here that we have talked about for quite a while.
But I see the changes in our climate as a discrete scientific problem. Unlike President Biden and Secretary Kerry, the other Trotsky-like wokers, they see climate change as a religion. You can't talk about it unless you follow their dogma, and it's not going to solve the problems that we face in terms of the changes that are taking place in our climate.
First of all, let's talk about, let's break that out. Dogma, yes. Cult, absolutely. If we're that concerned about it, and there is now a situation of no return, which isn't true, not even in the intergovernmental panel of climate change, the IPCC, is there any date or drop dead date where if we don't do this, essentially it's over, we can do nothing else, and we're all going to cease to exist? It's nowhere. But it is a huge boondoggle to make money. And think about this for a second. So we're sitting here fighting over this, and they're over there still. The COP26 is going on, and all of this stuff is happening with the climate change, with all of these things happening. As a person who's a voter, do you really care at this moment in time when you're looking around and you're saying you want to hear them talk about green energy, and you hear this?
To put 15 gallons in a car's tank, which many people are doing at least once a week, if not more, it now costs almost $80 every time you fill up around L.A. Many areas of California are now hovering around $5 a gallon for regular unleaded. The Energy Department says statewide the average price for regular unleaded is now $4.47 a gallon. Nationwide, $3.41, up 2 cents in the past week, and $1.31 higher per gallon than this time last year.
You know, think about that for a second. You want to hear about green energy at this point in time? No, because you live in the now. Not that you don't care about tomorrow, but today is what's going on. You live in the now, where you're spending $1.40 almost more than you did last year on gas, and your grocery bills are going up for several different reasons, one of them being the cost of energy to get things to and fro, to produce things. You live in the now. Surviving today will help you get to tomorrow. But you're not thinking about that. You're not. People who care about climate change, I absolutely love our world. I don't think we do a good job. We've overhunted. We've done a lot of things that we shouldn't have done, and we need to fix those things. All that being said, I'm not insane. I'm not. I know who worries about this. Do you really worry about this? Even if you love the climate, do you really worry about it? You know who worries about it? Kids, youngsters, who have what? Zero responsibility. When you've got a car payment, rent, a job, a child, responsibilities, you find out, I'm not as worried about that as I was before. Greta Thunberg is a perfect example. She's held up to be this, here she is. She's just a young girl from Sweden who stood in front of the Swedish parliament holding a sign about climate. They turned her into a rock star, And there's no doubt in my mind she absolutely cares about it 110%. But the people you're speaking to, do they?
You say you love Greta and her message, but everything else you love is a climate disaster. Far from rejecting consumerism, young people are so obsessed with labels that venerable fashion houses like Balenciaga have pivoted from selling couture dresses to rich women to selling baseball hats to teenagers. And where does a 20-something get the money to pay $400 for a hat? From mommy and daddy, of course, those huge ass who ruined the planet.
Yeah, exactly. Because you have what? You have zero responsibility. And with no with great power comes great responsibility. With no responsibility comes, well, nothing. Nothing. You have no responsibility. We're a consumer-based society, right? We like to consume. It's what we talk about here when it comes to the economy. It all sounds great. Make it in America, union jobs. All of it sounds great till you realize, well, the cost of whatever it is that you want is going to spike tremendously because it's made here. Because here you've got to do a lot of different things. You've got to pay the living wage. Well, I don't pay some living wages. Yeah, those are the places that don't spend tons of money on manufacturing and buying stuff that's manufactured in the United States of America and other westernized countries. You buy a shirt at Walmart, it costs you $12. Yeah, it does. You buy a shirt other places, it costs you a lot more. One's made in Vietnam, China, Pakistan. The other one's made in New York, Italy. We like to consume. That also puts pressure on it. Then you've got this new thing which nobody talks about.
Oh, and also maybe by trading Bitcoin, the mining of which is worse for the environment than actual mining. Cryptocurrency uses more energy than Netflix, Apple, Facebook, Microsoft, and Google combined, and more than some entire nations. And yet young people could not love it more if it came with a side of avocado toast.
Yeah, that's the reality of it. No way. Yeah, how do you think you get it? The mine. You have to mine to do what? You have to use electricity. Why? Because the mining comes from the computers. And you don't have one server. You have many servers to make anything. Places, I think it was at El Salvador, that they're just turning everything over into Bitcoin. They're mining in ways that are insane when it comes to the consumption of everything. But you've built up a religion. You've built up a fear-based world where people are terrified. Oh, my God, if we don't get 14 years, 10 years, 9 years, rather than go, what can we do to make this better? How can we make it affordable, right? Because like a Tesla, I go back to this with Tesla, guys, right? I go back to this with Tesla. You didn't buy it because you cared about the environment. You bought it because it was a cool-ass car. You bought it because it goes 0 to 60 in like 2 seconds. That's why you bought it. You didn't bought it because you're like, every time I turn on this, I save a penguin. No, you bought it because it's cool. You may have bought a Prius for that reason, and then people are like, oh, that's a Prius. That thing sucks. We consume. People with no priorities, no responsibilities, they're the ones who are angry. They're the ones who want to tell the world, hey, you need to change. Well, it's too late. We're already consuming, and you don't want to give up that consumerism. You know how we know?
And yet you would need the jaws of life to pry a phone out of the hands of anyone under 30. What would it take to convince Gen Z and millennials to give up their phones? A pollster once asked. 43% said it would take $5 million to give up their phone. 1 in 10 said they'd sacrifice a finger for it. That deserves a high 4.
Yeah, that's the craziness. And it's hard to fight against that. They fight against themselves, but that's how they feel about a lot of things. And this is their great war, right? This is their great war. Climate change is a great war to them. Climate change. And facts be damned, because it's also a business. And for others out there who have jumped 2 feet in this, many of them have done it because it's a business. It's a business. And they're going to go there. And they're going to meet it head on because it's a business, not because it's actually a scary, evil, bad thing that could destroy us. It's because we can make it a scary, evil, bad thing and profit from it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet, text. Raycon, best earbuds around. Amazing. Love my Raycons. Wear them all the time when I'm working out, going for walks, whatever it is I'm doing. I have my Raycons on, and you should do the same. The holidays are here, right? So Christmas, here. No need to worry. Ray J's got you ready to roll. Why? Because we got the Raycons. They're incredible, right? Delivered straight to you with a 45-day happiness guarantee. New improved rubber oil look and feel. The same amazing fit that you get. New controls where you can control the bass. That's why they're the best earbuds around. Period. Case closed. End of story. So what are you waiting for? I'm just curious. Why would you not want to jump on these awesome Raycons? They are incredible. Again, 45-day happiness guarantee. Perfect for Christmas. Great stocking stuffers. 8 hours of playtime, 32 hours of battery life, the best sound, the right bass. You will love these. And right now, unlock exclusive deals by going to buyraycon.com/Chad today and get up to 20% off your Raycon order. And they already start under $70. That's buyraycon.com/Chad. Don't miss this great holiday offer. It's super quick. Jump in there now. Save up to 20% off. Buyraycon.com/Chad. The best earbuds around. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
Set Chad straight. Text the show, 323-538-2423. That's 323-538-CHAD. Someone has to do it. Might as well be you. The Chad Benson Show.
So, got infrastructure out there. It's kind of a done deal, but the other infrastructure is not a done deal at all. And that is the reconciliation human infrastructure deal. So, that's what I call it. Human infrastructure deal is the best way to describe it. It's kind of what it is. Well, what was this? Well, this wasn't so infrastructure, as we would think, like, hey, let's build roads and stuff. The other one is not that. The other one is indeed the print a lot of money kind of infrastructure. So the way that it looks like they got this one passed, first of all, they also finally realized you had to read the room. And so they read the room. And the room said, watch out. Watch out. You guys pay attention to this. We want you guys to do stuff. And the Dems are like, oh, we should probably do something. So we're going to pass this. But then 13 Republicans jumped on board. Most of them aren't running for re-election, or they're in New York and or New Jersey, and they're Republicans. And they're on board because why? Because in their communities, what's important to them? That corridor, when it comes to, is it Amtrak, Phil? Is that the only one that makes money, right? That northeastern corridor?
Just the northeast corridor, yeah.
Yeah. And so that money going to that is very popular. Republican and Democrats all like that. They're fine with that. So they can afford to get away with it. Oh, yeah. So that's just it. So that's how it's done now. It's like, what can I afford to get away with? Some of that money's going to come help us, yada, yada, yada. Now, the Democrats who voted for it, who the progressives were going to go after potentially, they essentially got off by saying, hey, you know what? We're going to vote for this thing, but we do want to see what the CBO scores. That's the Congressional Budget Office. What's that look like? As long as we're not raising, money on the middle class. Because if they come back and say they're raising money on the middle class, we can't do that, guys. Democratic Senator Lamb said, yeah, there's no way that we're not raising money on the middle class. That's not happening. Uh-oh. Of course. Of course you're going to. That's absolutely what's going to happen. You cannot think for a second that you're going to give away all this stuff and do a bunch of things and not think that there's going to be some taxes somewhere. Connor Lamb acknowledged it. Says, look, middle-class tax hikes would be needed to fund Democrats' adventurous programs. Yes, he's somewhat of a moderate. But here's the reality of it. Yeah, you're going to have to. One of Joe Biden's promises was what? Not to raise taxes on people with an income less than $400,000. But when you go and look at all the stuff that they're going to do, always remember, everything on paper looks great, right? That's the way government does it. They take always the best case scenario and say, if this happens, we don't have to do anything. But in reality, you and I both know that doesn't happen that way because, well, life, humans, and lo and behold. So while they got this through, do I think they'll get the other one through? I do not. Not at this moment. Unless the CBO comes back and says, this thing is spot on perfect. Incredible. But do you really believe them? That they're not going to raise taxes? I would love that. Well, they should raise taxes on the rich. Raise it to 100%. They don't care. They're not paying taxes like the average person. Raise it to 1,000,000,000%. They don't care. No. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Apparently the White House is saying, hey, I know that the mandates are put on hold, but just tell everybody to keep doing it. This is the battle we have going on right now. And it's a battle that, look, the media loves, because the media doesn't have the monster. Trump was the monster. The monster's not here. So you got to find a new monster. Right now, it's the vaccinated versus the unvaccinated. We've talked about it over and over again. It's huge money, right? Getting one side to fight somebody else. It's great. I mean, Big Bird and Ted Cruz are fighting. But Greg Gutfeld's pointed out, we have pointed out as well, the media needs something to gravitate to because separating us is far bigger business than us getting along, so you need the drama.
Media has invented a new issue that you can split in half. You're either pro-vax or you're a crackpot who wants everybody to die, or you're pro-freedom and everybody else is authoritarian body fascists. Because for some reason, we cannot accept that there's a million positions in between these two hyperbolic chambers. For a little war, this prison of two ideas, that produces ratings.
Yeah, that's it. Can you not have both an idea of like, I'm not sure about the vaccine, but I am for vaccines, but I'm not quite sure this works the way that I think I thought it would work. And if it's not going to prevent me from really getting it, it might prevent me maybe from getting it. Can you not have that kind of idea that I trust that you got the vaccine and you had your reasons for? I hope you can look at me and say that, no, you can't, because there's no money in it. And both sides go out and fire at each other. Case in point, the Battle of Big Bird.
At the center of the debate over vaccinating children against COVID-19, Sesame Street's Big Bird, yes, the giant yellow bird who's supposed to be 6 years old, faced a social media backlash from some conservatives after Big Bird tweeted about getting vaccinated. In the post, Big Bird wrote, "My wing is feeling a little sore, but it'll give my body an extra protective boost that keeps me and others healthy."
Well, there's all kinds of people, and they're all in a line, and they don't look like they're buying candy. And there's a sign that says, "Don't wait, vaccinate."
Doesn't sound anything like a Big Bird.
Don't wait, vaccinate. Hey, guys, I'm going to go get vaccinated.
Right? So Big Bird's going to go get vaccinated. Right? So that's what he's going to do. Okay. Look, I like my children's show without being woke. You know, some people would say they've done the vaccination thing for a long time. They've talked about it. This is much different, though, because now there's a social connotation that comes with it of the fight between the people that are the cleaned and the unwashed, right? The super bright human beings and the people that are knuckle draggers. So when you were a kid growing up and you watched it, the divisiveness and of which we could reach out and talk about this or argue about it, it wasn't there. We may have been divided in some ways. We just didn't have the tools to get at each other.
Among those taking issue with that message was Republican Senator Ted Cruz. He called it government propaganda for your 5-year-old. A few hours after that, the tweet did receive a round of applause from President Biden, who tweeted, "Good on you, Big Bird. Getting vaccinated is the best way to keep your whole neighborhood safe."
See, that's the stupidity of what's going on. Kelly Townsend, a Republican, a GOP lawmaker here, she tweeted, "Big Bird's a communist." You're like, shut up. First of all, let me explain this to all of you who don't understand. Big Bird's not real. What? Yeah. So I'll let you guys know that. But there you go. But don't worry, though, because Sanjay Gupta had to have an interview with him.
I have one more question.
Oh, sure, Big Bird. What's that?
I'm a little scared to get the shot because I don't like needles. Will it hurt?
And I'm the same way too, Big Bird.
But you're a doctor.
Yeah, but you know, even some doctors don't like getting shots. You know what I like to do? I like to bring something from home that might make me feel safe, like a favorite toy maybe, and then think about all the fun things I can do after I get the vaccine.
Oh, that makes me feel a lot better.
Good luck, Big Bird. We're rooting for you.
We're rooting for you, Big Bird. Hey, Big Bird, let me ask you a question.
Yeah, sure, Chad.
Did you get the bird flu shot?
Oh, that's not very nice, Chad.
I'm just curious. Think about all the things you couldn't do before. What couldn't the giant yellow bird do that he can't do now, that he couldn't do before? Well, now he can go anywhere. Like, he can go to Los Angeles County, he can go anywhere, as long as you have an ID and your vaccination passport. But, Chad, black people can't get IDs. That's what we were told. That's why they can't vote because voter ID is suppressive. Well, no. It's different now. It's different. Now, apparently, they can get IDs. Oh, geez. This is all confusing. Yes, it is. Then you've got the other side of the insanity, where over the weekend, you had the likes of Terry Bradshaw being mad at Aaron Rodgers.
I'd give Aaron Rodgers some advice. It would have been nice if he'd have just come to the Naval Academy and learned how to be honest. Yeah. Learn not to lie, because that's what you did, Aaron. You lied to everyone. I understand immunized. What you were doing was taking stuff that would keep you from getting COVID-19. You got COVID-19. Ivermectin is a cattle dewormer. Sorry, folks, that's what it is.
Not really. And by the way, he didn't have to go to the Naval Academy because, well, he's a Hall of Fame football player. Oh, Chad. I'm just saying. And they're having their issues, by the way, the Navy and vaccination, so everybody settle down. The telling the truth thing, yeah, you know what? He played the game. He did. Then everybody came after him, talked about the woke mob, right? He talked about that because he went on his buddy Pat McAfee's show. But then you got Howard Stern coming after him. And by the way, I just want to let you guys know, if you don't know anything about Howard Stern, he's terrified of this. Absolutely terrified. To the point where he's mad at his wife if she leaves the house or she goes to dinner with her friends. He's mad at his wife for all of these things. Even a doctor he's trusted helping him with his back problems who told him you're overreacting, he says, I don't trust you anymore. Like, that's where he's at.
I was so worked up over the weekend about this fucking Aaron Rodgers of the NFL. I don't even know where to begin with that story. I mean, this fucking guy, I don't watch football. Sorry, I'm not a big fan. I know the guy's a real good football player. That's why they put up with his bullshit. If there was decency in this world, if I ran the NFL, I would throw this guy out of the football league so fast. What he did to his fellow teammates.
Really? So you'd throw him out for that? Because if you're going to throw him out for that, man, there's going to be a lot of guys not in the league for a lot of other things or that you might try. Now, here's where there's a shark, and then he jumps it.
Bravo, Terry Bradshaw, for what you said and everyone else who's got half a brain in this country. But this fucking guy, they should throw him out of the league so fast. With the guy who crashed his car at 153 miles an hour, and some poor lady walking her dog, and the lady burned up. I mean, he's facing 40 years in jail. It should be a life sentence. But Aaron Rodgers, come on, dude. Really? You know, that whole bullshit game. Yeah, I have the antibodies.
Yeah, because those aren't good. That's insane, right? Like, that's a cult. You've lost the plot. And to equate him to Henry Ruggs, who was doing 156 miles an hour and killed a woman who was 24, about ready to get her citizenship, smashed into her in her car, killing her and her dog, and to equate the two is insane. I'm sorry. You've jumped the shark. You have. It wasn't finished there.
I don't know where these guys get their information from. At the press conference, he said he got his information from Joe Rogan. With all due respect, Joe Rogan's
Why would you go to Joe Rogan with a medical problem?
You got doctors who study in medical school. I don't know what has happened to this country.
No. What he did is he called Joe and he said, what treatment did you use? And Joe said, I did monoclonal antibodies. I did, several other shots, ivermectin, a bunch of it. But it's the monoclonal antibodies that is the thing that helped out. Tim Pool's another podcaster who's got a huge following. He got sick. He goes, I tried ivermectin, didn't work for me. I did monoclonal antibodies. Everything's fine. So, but it goes to show, like, oh, we should throw him out of the league. That's where people are. That's the insanity of it. In Los Angeles County now, you got to show your vaccine passport and your ID. Like, that's where we are. And this is the battle that's not going anywhere. You got Ted Cruz fighting with Big Bird. Big Bird. It's Ted Cruz fighting against Big Bird. That's why we can't have nice things. That's why. I mean, it makes us laugh a little bit. But this is it. And then when you get, the president's applauding him for that. And then the other side is like, you're a communist. You're like, really? It's a puppet that doesn't sound like Big Bird that I grew up with. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. I was talking to people yesterday. I'm like, do you remember any of the lessons you learned on, like Sesame Street or Electric Company or like, any of those, things? I'm like, no. I just remembered there was Oscar the Grouch and he lived in a trash can. Right? You had the Count. One. Right? Like, those are the things I remember. I don't think they may have taught other lessons, but I just remembered those things. I remembered more lessons, if you will, from Davy and Goliath. Phil, you remember Davy and Goliath, right?
Oh, yeah. I still watch it every now and again.
Hey, Davy. It's a dog that could talk. And for whatever reason, Davy was always getting into trouble. The dog had to talk him out of it. He's like, hey, Goliath, I'm thinking about robbing this bank. I don't know if you do that, Davy. It's not nice, And then Davy would get talked out by the dog. Like, that's just it. Always tell the truth. I learned more from that because I even watch it. I go, man, this kid's always in trouble. He's always doing some bad stuff. Oh. Guys, you guys should get vaccinated. Maybe I need to watch more Sesame Street, see what's going on there. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Tis the Chad Benson Show.
Lights, give me a bowl of chili with plenty of peppers.
One Mexican heartburn. Why don't you mugs grow up?
The Chad Benson Show, where independent, a la carte thinkers have a seat at the table and a voice in the dialogue.
I'll have what she's having.
This is Chad Benson.
Yeah, this is really interesting. So we're just talking about vaccines. And I've often wondered, like, do we always need toolkits or something? You know, it's like, I feel like it's so crazy. Like, oh, yeah, we need 12 handbooks. We're going to need at least 50 hours of training over whatever this thing is. I'm like, oh, cool. Are we studying, you know, are you learning how to take out an appendix? And then we're going to work in, 12,000 hours in the lab. No. It's a toolkit to decide how we can decipher between, bad stuff and misinformation, and also not to make people feel shamed.
A new toolkit released today by the Surgeon General includes discussion questions and illustrations explaining why people share misinformation or what a hypothetical conversation around misinformation could look like. The recommended approach relies heavily on listening, providing empathy, and avoiding shame. Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy acknowledged to ABC it may be tough for vaccinated Americans to be empathetic or understanding when many feel angry at the unvaccinated. But Dr. Murthy said that people don't generally change their mind if they feel shame and blame, that it may actually harden their positions.
Why do you have to feel empathetic for somebody who's not worried about this? I'm curious, right? I mean, why? Well, we need to feel, I need to feel empathy towards you because I have moralistically, I'm a better person than you are. But you recognize that, right? No, like, they're fine with not being vaccinated. Okay? And the people out there who aren't vaccinated, you know what? You don't need to throw into people's face what you think. Just let it go. They're fine with it. We need a toolkit for that? We do? Yeah. Let us tell you why they're spreading misinformation. They don't think it's misinformation. They think it's real. So to them, it's not misinformation. You have your information. They think that's misinformation. See the quagmire we're in? The calamity we've created for ourselves? Jeez. Speaking of misinformation, disinformation, I don't know if you guys saw this. I just found this to be fascinating. What you can learn on some socials.
It is a hand gesture that was started in the midst of the pandemic as a way for someone to discreetly signal that they're in trouble. Described on TikTok by Jackie Padilla.
I just gave you the distress signal that I might be experiencing domestic violence. I put my hand up, and then I curled my fingers around my thumb.
And now it's paid off, saving a 16-year-old from North Carolina.
Just looked like she was waving at individuals. He had no idea that she was putting out a distress signal.
Laurel County, Kentucky Sheriff's Deputy Gilbert Acharo, that signal, a hand up and a wave, the thumb going in and the fingers curling down over the thumb, given by a girl in a car and spotted by another driver. They called 911. Cops swooped in.
We had one cruiser get in behind the vehicle. We had another cruiser get in front of the vehicle. We boxed it in. It literally could not go anywhere.
The 61-year-old driver now under arrest. The girl back home with her family.
How about that? So for all the bad of social media, some stuff can come out that's good, right? It's like they tell you if you call the police, one of the things you're going to do and you're in a domestic or bad situation and you order a pizza or something, and they'll ask you, are you in a domestic situation? You're like, yeah, I'd like to get a large cheese pizza. Are you in a domestic situation? Yeah, that's fine. Maybe you want pepperonis? No pepperonis. Something like that. Little things you can learn, right? Now the more you know. See how easy that was? It was easy. I don't need a workbook. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. All right, so the football weekend was a break even for me this weekend. You guys do know I do my NFL picks. I was 7-7 thanks to the Steelers winning last night. Although I will say this, I watched the game, and during the game there was a situation late in the game. Steelers are driving down. It is 3rd and long. And Ben Roethlisberger gets sacked by Cassius Marsh. And he does this spinning ninja kick. And then he stood and he took a step towards the Steelers who he used to play with, and he kind of gave him a look, but nothing crazy. He didn't say anything, and he turned around. But he got a 15-yard taunting penalty, which was ridiculous. And it looked like the ref wasn't sure, maybe wasn't sure, but as he was walking by, he kind of throws his elbow out towards Marsh. Then he backs up like hip check style. And it kind of changed a bit of the game. Now, they went down and scored. They kicked a field goal. Then the Bears went down and they scored, but they left too much time, and Big Ben drove them down, and they won the game on a last-second field goal. But I will tell you this right now. Watching that, I think he's got a right to complain. All that being said, I was 7-7 Steelers for the win. So that's not bad. So far, for the year, 83-52. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. Think for yourself. Have a great day. Get some tacos. Night, night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.